Hey, everyone. Welcome back. And welcome from what? Well, from a fun, hopefully relaxing, and restorative weekend. It is the Prepared Mind channel, though it is Sunday. It's Sunday Night Live. It is the zoo. Welcome, everyone, on the preparedmind.club, YouTube, X, subscribestar.com, and everywhere else Jolene has us plugged in at, like BitChute or Rumble or who knows where else, Instagram. Think I still have a lifetime ban from TikTok. We tried it there and we made it less than 1 day before they gave us the lifetime ban. Anyways, it's your show. It's Sunday night. We can look wherever you want and talk about whatever you want. Down below, we've got, PayPal, Venmo, CashApp, and then up here we got, bam, a super chat button. And that allows you to what? To direct the show right here. Your questions, your comments, in the comment box. And if you're on X, click on the video. It should open up a comment box for you, and you too can join in. Everyone here, this is the zoo. It is wild. It is open to everyone to come view, listen, and share and exchange in the comment section. You cannot comment, though, unless you're a subscriber. So click the thumbs up, subscribe, share the internet addresses, hit the share button, and we're going to get it on. We just came on live. It is your show, and we're going to start off with some excellent super chat donations from who? Well, from you guys. And as usual, and I love this, every time we do this, we get both Darcy T and Chin Music coming in with a $50 or more super chat donation, which means I get a 15-year Glenlivet Scotch. And that's how we're going to start tonight's show. And Chin Music says, we're going to do a $53.06 super chat donation. Thank you, Mr. Chin Music. And what does he have to say? He says, John, you know me. Oh, first the Scotch. Everyone, go ahead and raise a glass of whatever you're drinking, whatever you like to drink, whatever you wish you could drink. And we're going to hit all of the SHTF shit hits the fan topics. Salud, Prost, Semper Fi, down the hatch. Oh, yeah, like mother's milk. So Chin says, John, you know me. You know I'm rational and can think critically. I'm not getting my hopes up, but the addition of Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey to the FBI is encouraging if they let him loose. He's an ass kicker with a peace legal track record of holding shitty people accountable. He demonstrated he has the legal acumen and backbone for what's required to give the government the enema it so badly needs, if they let him. And additionally, to the communists out there, please, oh please, nominate Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom. Danny T says, I have so much material on the shoulder shimmy, greasy-haired, satanic beta douche, locked and loaded. I tell you what, from the video news conference of him apologizing for sleeping with his campaign manager's wife, to the news of his own wife, Gavin Newsom, being the bedroom toy to the disgraced, lowlife, convicted felon. You know who I'm talking about, right? The Hollywood scum, Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, Weinstein. There's an interesting name. I wonder what his nationality is. Hollywood, yes, famous for being controlled by you know who, them. Okay, but yeah, Gavin Newsom. What else has he done? He's allowed millions of acres of California old growth forests to burn, literal cities to burn down, including now Southern California cities like Palisades along the coast. He's lied and cheated and stolen. He's a fucking grifter, a sack of shit. He is the worst. And he is horrible, absolutely horrible at debates. So I've got to tell you, I want him to try. Governor DeSantis mopped the floor with him. And so right now, Democrats are flexing. seeing what America is willing to stomach and what percentage of Americans are willing to bend over and take more Democrat abuse. And I don't think Americans are ready for more Democrat abuse. I really don't. Now, going back to the Attorney General for Missouri, Andrew Bailey, he's going on board with the FBI. And this is what's terrible, is it doesn't matter how much IQ you've got or how much hair you've got on your big cojones. It does not matter if you are stopped by the Attorney General's office or the president coming down on you. Sadly, my friends, that is the case. We could send every single ass kicker in there, and if they don't have permission, they ain't doing shit. Whereas you take Democrats, they're set on destroying the nation, our culture, our traditions, and our laws. They're set on destroying us. So everything they do is acceptable to the World Economic Forum, the Illuminati, if you will. The rich billionaire bankers, businessmen, and elite aristocrats from around the world. If you do what they want, you can do whatever you want. That's how someone as stupid as Kamala Harris could make it to the California Attorney General's office, to the vice president, even as a presidential candidate. That just lets you know how vacant the Democrat Party is, having candidates of any intelligence. All they've been getting is candidates willing to sell out at a local level, a state level, even the national level, both in the elected regime and the bureaucratic regimes. Because I think those two are separate things. They're separate. But I got to tell you, folks, it is going to be a mess. There is a little rumor going on right now that after his second term as president, Trump will step back, and step over into the VP role and have probably more than likely Vice President J.D. Vance step up as the presidential candidate, kind of a reversal. Now, obviously, that would cause liberals to lose their freaking minds, bigger than shit. But I guess that's years away. We have to find out if they can even fix the election system. And right now, Trump is making big waves about that. But he hasn't done anything about it. He was making big waves about, well, gold in Fort Knox. They've made big waves about monetizing assets. They've made big waves about a lot of things. And they haven't got to it, including the Epstein client lists. That was a big deal. And then all of a sudden, it was a hoax. And once again, Trump has addressed it as a hoax and bullshit again. It's not going away. I haven't forgot. I will not forget. How could we forget? How could we forget that? All right. Uman says they'll be pissed because Obama didn't think of it. Well, yeah, Obama, right? He did run the White House. Liberals lose their mind about everything. Yes, they do. That's funny. They do. Everything causes them to lose their shit. I love it. I want them triggered. I want them trolled. I want them crying and whining because I find it humorous. It's incredible, folks. These people are absolutely retarded. And I mean that literally, retarded. I've seen more face piercings, tattoos, hairstyles that would cause any employer to say, I'm never hiring you. Not a what freaking chance would I hire you. And then these people come on and go, I don't know why I have to work. Why do I have to work? I shouldn't have to work. We shouldn't have to work as people. It's like, where? What planet? It just tells me we're continuing to go down, down, down. Even with Trump in office, we're not going right up. Folks, we got a long way down and a lot of problems to fix. Okay, that's good for Mr. Chin Music. And now we're going to move on to Darcy T, who says, good evening, John. Here's my question for tonight's zoo. And she did a $50 PayPal Super Chat donation. If you want to get on the board, Super Chat button right up there. $50 or more, of course, buys me a scotch. Try not to get me schnockered, if you will. Sometimes there's a concerted effort out there, and I blame Nikki mostly for getting that riled up in the crowd. But it's a great way to start the show for me. Loosen me up, loosen up the tongue, limber up the brain. And here's to you, Darcy T, for taking good care of us, the show, getting us prepared. Spam, tuna fish, and scotch in the pantry. Down the hatch. Oh, love it every time. It's good for you, folks. Hey, if one drink a day is good for the heart, two must be great. So Darcy says, let's talk a little bit about the California bill, the Family Preparedness Plan Act, also known as AB 495, that would allow non-family members to act as caregivers for minors without parental permission. You think you know where this goes? This would allow them to make decisions for their kids involving medical care, procedures like hormone blockers, vaccines. How about abortions? In addition, there is very little oversight to protect the children. She had an excerpt from an article, and this is what the excerpt says. It basically means any adult can self-attest to their own authorization to take guardianship over any minor child. That was stated by Elizabeth Barkahana, an attorney and California mother of 4. That's what she told Fox News. Here's another quote. Without parental notification, consent, background check, any guardrails, this adult, meaning any adult, can basically take control over anyone's child. And then guess what? Then they can take them to do whatever they want. Vaccines, puberty blockers, hormone therapy, abortions, anything. And it's horrifying. That is not the world that I want. That is not the world that was anywhere having to do with the Constitution. Human decency. Basically, what they want is school teachers to have the authority to overstep the rights of the parents and take a child in. And they've been doing this for years anyway. And when they get caught, they typically go to jail because they're not allowed to do that. So now California is allowing any adult to become a parent or guardian, decision maker. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. See, they don't want the state. They're trying to avoid the state doing that. But the state is now authorizing other adults to testify. Just say, yeah, I'm the legal guardian for today. Can you imagine that shit? Now, how do you think that this can be, well, bent or modified? You know, in California, they were passing laws and trying to pass laws and introducing laws to downplay criminal status, right? For prostituting your own child. They wanted to make it a misdemeanor, not a felony. It's like, what? You know that, but this is where it's going, folks. Woke is under attack. DEI is under attack. Critical race theory is under attack. All this anti-American nonsense is under attack, but they're not quitting. They're not quitting. And the evidence of that one more time, guess what? The evidence of that one more time is Cracker Barrel, which has been a huge story for the past 5-6 days. Their stock value has plummeted. They've gone woke, absolutely gone woke over at Cracker Barrel because the CEO, well, she went with the whole DEI woke thing, and they're turning it into basically a golden corral. They're getting rid of everything, including the old white man and his barrel. Right? Unbelievable. They're gonna fight to the death, folks. They don't want to work. They don't want to be held responsible. They want to destroy everything, and they want to take your children away from you. Scary, scary business. Woo! And that's it, folks. That's the great start we kicked off to, and we got more to talk about. Hit that super chat button right up there, and you'll get down on here on the screen your thoughts, predictions about the future, observations about the past, last week, next week. Whatever you want to talk about, this is your show on Sunday Night Live. We're going to have fun. We've just passed the 200 participants live mark, and I want us to hit and just blow past 400. So be sure, if you want to comment, you've got to be a subscriber. Click subscribe down below. Be a subscriber and you can comment. And let's see what's up next. Mr. Uman, what do we have? And we've got, hey, this is a super chat from the Friday show. Friday, I did a recording earlier knowing my whole day was jacked up. And boy, did it finished like a mess. Anyways, Bad Moon Rising checked in with a €5.99 super chat. He says, hi, John. Penny for your thoughts on Israel weaponizing the U.S. Congress against Ireland, because Ireland will not be silent on the genocide in Palestine. Well, my thoughts on Israel weaponizing the U.S. Congress. Essentially, and I think it's becoming obvious, the United States government, Washington, D.C., is bought and paid for. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Israel Incorporated. That is my opinion. As such, not only the legislature, meaning the House and the Senate, but also the White House, which includes both Trump and J.D. Vance, have gone to the Wailing Wall, put the little kippah hat on their head, and performed like a trained SEAL their Kabbalistic ritual. Now, as a result of that, as a consequence of that, Trump and Congress have been telling other nations, you can't do that. You can't do that. In fact, they tried telling us, they tried telling states and cities, you are not allowed, this is coming out of DC, you're not allowed to boycott Israeli products. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to boycott whatever I want. Even down in here, in my state, the great state of Florida, they passed some ridiculous, unconstitutional statute saying it is, well, it's unlawful to be anti-Semitic. Excuse me and pardon the fuck out of me. You don't get to tell me what to think, what to say, or what to do with my money. I can boycott anything I want. But the government is trying to be that. Now, Ireland seems to have caught on. They don't like what's going on in Ireland. It's quite, and folks, let's see, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, UK in general, including England, right? They're getting overrun by Muslim invaders. But who is getting the blame for that? Well, I think the world is kind of understanding that it's Europeans are being replaced in their own countries. Europeans are being replaced in their own countries. And they're starting to blame Israel for that as well, seeing that that's what this is about. It's about destroying America, destroying Canada, destroying Australia, destroying the United Kingdom, destroying Europe, and especially Eastern Europe, and then also Russia. It is one hell of a shit show. But the genocide, let's just say the efforts by Israel to cleanse Palestine, Gaza, of the Palestinians and Hamas characters. Yeah, Ireland's not being silent, and they're saying that it's genocide. I believe Norway, politicians within Norway, same thing. High-level politicians, not just some little ministers of parliament, even though they're engaged. And many other countries in Europe have had it with this. But what they're doing is Israel just goes to their biggest pit bulls. That would be Washington, D.C., and telling them, instructing them, hey, We've already bought and paid for you guys in the U.S. You're going to tell Europe to get in line. And I think and I hope and I wonder what comes next. I think this is my personal opinion, is that Israel's kind of out of control at this point. They're out of control. In fact, I believe they bombed the shit out of the Houthis today. Did you catch that, Mr. Uman? It sent a bunch of missiles down into the Houthiville in Somalia. I don't have any love for terrorists, folks. No love for terrorists at all. But I do not like terrorists terrorizing terrorists. Or I should say maybe terrorists should all just kill each other and leave us the fuck out of it. But with respect to, and you're getting a few pennies here, Bad Moon Rising. With respect to Israeli money finding its way into the bank accounts of American politicians, we know that's true because there is a group, their AIPAC Watch, which is the America-Israeli Political Action Committee. They watch who gets what money sent to them by Israel. It is only a fraction of what the United States government gives to Israel every year. So some of that money finds its way back into the politicians' pockets. How about that shit? If you and I took money from another country and in turn were required to screw over our constituents, our counties and cities and states and the entire nation, we'd be in prison. But since they're sanctioned, they're the government, they can do whatever they want. And I think the attitude nationally and also internationally is there is no fixing anything. There's no fixing anything. It's going to have to be destroyed. Now, I'll let you go on that one, Bad Mood Rising, and I'll continue this. That the call for just removing government that is completely unconstitutional and, well, traitorous, right? We're seeing it in England. They are really stepping up. I would say that it is pre-revolutionary anger, and it's boiling over. It truly is. Once again, folks, anti-migrant protests have gained momentum and across 30 different cities in Britain. They've mobilized, they're marching, they're waving flags, and some Muslims are coming out and trying to bash them, and they're getting their asses kicked. Now, the Reform Party in England or the UK has plans through its leader, Nigel Farage, for mass deportation of illegals. Right now, currently, I guess they're sending out, 5 flights a day? That's not very much. That's hardly anything. They've got millions in their country, folks, and we have tens of millions in America that are illegal, right? Now, sadly for England, okay, they want to fix things. Well, England and the entire United Kingdom are under siege with major cities who I think are being led. Their mayors are Muslim terrorists. I think they're traitors to their oaths. They've invited in all of these illegals who are doing what? Committing all manner of crime, including the most insane, ridiculous, horrifying, abominable crimes. We're talking about the child rape that's going on. And the government thinks it's fine. Well, the government, if you look at it, they're wearing turbans. They don't look very English or Scotch or Irish or Welsh to me. 30 different cities across Britain, folks, are standing up saying no more and marching. And the police are getting the fuck out of their way. But still, anyone complains online, the police show up at the door and arrest them for complaining about Pakistan, Afghanistan, any of the stands, Palestinians, any of them, Indians. We've got nothing but trouble coming, folks. And the United States is not far behind. People are now screaming in America, but it's not as bad as it is in the UK. Right? They're putting up English flags. Wait till England, the country, says you can't put English flags up. You can't put the Union Jack up. You can't, right? Wait till they try that shit. They're going to. They're going to have to. But I don't know if you've all noticed, but every time I hear a government official saying something, they're lying. I mean, they don't even do a good job of lying anymore. It's just right in your face lies. Woo! I tell you, it's Sunday Night Live, folks. We got a big week coming up. They're going to cut interest rates. Oof. Right? They're talking about yield curve control for the government to make sure its bonds are bought at an acceptable interest rate. We may talk more about that. If you guys want to talk about it, it's your show, Sunday Night Live, super chat button up there. Who has something to say? It's always a surprise to me because I have to try and keep up. But we have Simon Wagstaff, who says, what is a greater threat to the American way? Drag queens or AIPAC? The shiny object or those behind the scenes pulling the strings? AIPAC is a huge threat. I believe they're a terror threat. I really do. Because they support and pay for an awful lot of things that we're not aware of. I mean, they buy Democrats as much as Republicans. So on the Democrat side, they pay them off. And what are the Democrats doing? They're introducing drag queens, transgenders, and minor attracted pedophiles. Pedophiles. That's the Democrat Party. They want to bring in illegals. Well, if AIPAC was against any of those things, they would say no more of that shit. But they're not saying no more of those things. So I'm sure that the Democrats get their ear tugged on and someone's whispering in it what your political platform is going to be. But don't worry, the other side, the Republican side, has got their ear being pulled and whispered in and being told, hey, you're going to do this, that, and the other for us. They're all bought and paid for, folks. The uniparty is exposed. Their paymasters are exposed. They have control files against them. Cheating, drug use, extortion, bribery, fraud, and of course, pedophilia and other sex crimes and sex things. They got a portfolio on everyone in Congress. You will do as you're told, or this will become public. Right? Drag queens are easy. We can just say, get the fuck out of here. Right? We can vote on it and get them out. We can get them out of schools, get them out of libraries. We can boycott their businesses. We can picket them. They'll go away on their own. And they largely have. Largely. They're not gone. They're not forgotten. They're not done. They're not as a sick, disgusting, pedophilic, homosexual group. They're not dead. They're still out there. They're just hiding right now. They've gone back under their slimy rocks and they're hiding. But AIPAC, on the other hand, they pull the strings. So 1 week, they could make their little transgenders and drag queens and homosexuals dance like little Zelenskys. And the next week, they could go, we don't want to do that anymore. Now we're going to do this. Terrorism. Oh, we need to take care of these terrorists in this country and that country. And how dare you do this? And how dare you say that? And no one's going to talk about Epstein. See what I'm saying? Right? AIPAC controls both sides. Drag queens are one symptom out of dozens. Right? But AIPAC, I believe, is at the forefront of all of it. All of it. How else could all of America want freedom, our rights, our liberties, our country saved, yet the politicians absolutely refuse? And their most diehard, idiotic members and voters all love it. They love it. They absolutely love it. But by the way, the redistricting or gerrymandering, if you will, is going to hurt the Democrats far worse. And if Trump is good to his word and they get a new census, a new count, and are told not to count illegals as American citizens, so we know how many states have how many votes in Congress. And if we get our election reform, paper ballots, same-day voting, and that's it, we're going to see Congress swing more heavily Republican. Now, 10 years ago, I'd have jumped up and down for joy. 20 years ago, I would have thought, we've saved the country. But with the Republican Party unwilling to do anything, unwilling to do a fucking thing for us, even though they have the majority of the House, the majority of the Senate, and the presidency, none of them are doing anything. We have control of the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice, the FBI, yet they won't arrest criminals that are the most vile, disgusting criminals because it's national security, meaning it's, you guessed it, Washington, D.C., the FBI, the CIA. They're not going to arrest themselves, nor will they arrest and expose their compadres in MI6, in British government, royalty, aristocracy, Israel, Europe, none of it. None of the bankers, they're not done. The big problem is right there, AIPAC. It is a huge piece. Now, Trump did get rid of USAID money, right? USAID money. That's been pulled out of the system. So they're not funding the Democrats. The Democrats have already lost, I think, 2.4 million voters. And the Republicans, now that they're cleaning up the voter rolls, somehow magically gain like 2.1 million voters. This country is going to go lopsided back towards conservatism. But will AIPAC and Israel and, you guessed it, the intelligence services, CIA, Mossad, MI6, will they allow it? We are gearing up for a battle. And John Bolton had his house raided. John Bolton is a war hawk, Zionist, neocon, a-hole, according to many experts. Allegedly, all of those things. Mr. Mustache, that guy looks like a walrus, an angry walrus. Well, he had his house raided because it appears he's been taking money, from foreigners, buying influence in our government. That's what the word on the street is. What's really going to happen with him? We'll find out. We are going to have to find out the hard way, I guess, which means wait. I really wish that we could trust government to tell us what they're going to do and then have them do it, instead of giving us phase 1 of the Epstein client list. Unbelievable, which was nothing. All right, Jolene, man, we got the prepared mother Jolene here, and man, working behind the scenes as moderators extraordinaire. Who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? And it's Big Dan the Man Erickson with a $10 pow super chat. Right out the gate, he says, the Democrat Party has lost all credibility. I'm with you 100%. I can't think of a single Democrat that is worth his weight in salt. The very best amongst them has brain damage. But first, before I dig into that, let's continue with Dan the Man. He says, the D Party has lost all credibility among people that can still think clearly. That's why they need a lot more lower intelligence servants in the D Party. That's why they need foreigners from, forgive me, I better fix this. They need imported votes from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the Far East, North Africa, South Africa, Central America, South America. Have I missed anyone? They would, if they could import penguins from Antarctica and have them vote, they would do it. But they're losing their votes. They're losing their votes. If we do the census thing, they're done. Get rid of mail-in ballots, they're done. Get rid of these illegals off the voter rolls and make sure every state is properly redistricted to reflect real population. Democrats need these low intelligence morons to come in, and they go, you either vote Democrat or we'll kick you out. They vote Democrat. But Democrats lie, cheat, and steal every election, and they have since at least 1960, folks. But a lot of people believe the cheating and voting goes all the way back into the 1800s. But low intelligence, that's exactly what the Democrats need. People who cannot critically think or think clearly at all, right? But credibility, everything, every last thing the Democrats like is anti-American. It's anti-moral. It's even anti-legal, right? Everything they're doing. They want illegal this and illegal that. Crazy business. I'm telling you, Dan, it is good to be an American and then understand that we have the First and Second Amendment, and we all need to be able to say what we want to say, right? We need to be able to say what we say anytime we want. Like this, right? It's them again. A Palestinian Muslim refugee raped a 14-year-old mentally disabled child outside a church. Yet again, low IQ, Muslims, anti-American, no morality. I watched a video today, folks. We're at 300 people live right now. My counter just ticked 300. Pow! I watched a video today of two girls who are being filmed and harassed by an illegal scumbag from one of these fucking countries. By the way, they do more than just rape little girls. They behead people. They steal from people. They screw things up. They throw their trash in the ocean, in the woods, on the streets, in the rivers, and the streams. They just literally throw their trash everywhere. They go to the park. They throw their trash everywhere. They're fucking awful human beings that think it's someone else's job to clean up. If anyone even needs to clean up, they don't mind living in fucking trash. That's what kind of people these foreigners are. Completely not compatible with an understanding of Western values. Now, these two girls are being chased and harassed. One of the girls pulls out both a knife and a hatchet to defend themselves. Since when do girls need to carry knives or hatchets to protect themselves from being attacked, drugged, and raped by these people? Remember, all they got to do is get close enough and hit these girls with some drugs. That's it. Get it on their skin absorbs it, they're fucked. Literally. Right? An American was over in Germany, and on a train, a German woman was being harassed by an illegal. So the American stood up. He got in his face and got stabbed in the face for protecting a woman in Germany against one of these illegal types, one of these filthy migrants. It's embarrassing. Anyways, this is your show, folks. It is Sunday Night Live, and we have nothing but trouble coming and brewing. Please share the internet address. Make sure you thumbs up everything, and you have to subscribe if you want to get into the comments. Subscribe for 5 minutes before YouTube will let you on, but we're on the preparedmind.club. You can be a premium member there or premium member at subscribestar.com, and you can be live all week long. But Sunday Night Live, everyone's here. It's open to everyone. Super chat button right up there gets you on the screen. I'll make you famous, but get this. Someone else wanted to be made famous by President Trump, and it would be the Maryland governor, Wes Moore. He's a moron. So Trump basically obliterated him, squashed him, smashed him. But what the governor did was he challenged Trump to walk our streets before you talk about the crime, right? You just walk our streets. And so Trump, in response, asked a very important question about Governor Moore. Turns out that Governor Moore claimed that when he was in the Army, he was awarded the Bronze Star. And he hadn't and didn't. That's called stolen valor. And I'm sick of these Democrats not being prosecuted for stolen valor. Kind of like Twinkle Toes Tim Walz and his absurd lies about his service record and where he went and what he did. Democrats seem to have a problem with telling the truth. They have a big problem with just lying about everything. And it's not going to end. It's not going to end well. Is it ever going to end? I don't know. The English are saying they need to overthrow their government because the government is not responding. The government of the United States, I don't think it has many more years before there's a problem here, because Americans have also had it. They've had it. They're not there yet. I really think that England is further ahead on this business of getting rid of their idiots. Anyways, we're at 300 people live still, folks. Get your share button in, share that internet address. We've got a lot to talk about. What do we want to do next? I want to give everyone a big fat warning, right? They're going to lower interest rates. A lot of people think that's a good thing for the country, a good thing for the population, a good thing for the economy. What's going to happen, though, is, well, yeah, it'll allow people to buy more house for their dollar, or buy a house, period, because then they can afford the interest rate, right? The amount of money they pay to borrow money that's created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve System. But what that's going to do is, instead of 50 people who can afford a house, say there's 100 houses for sale in a market within the range, only 50 people can qualify, so it drags prices down, right? But if you lower the interest rates, then instead of having 50 people able to buy those 100 houses, now you have 200 people that can buy those 100 houses, and now you have competing bids for those houses. It'll drive prices up, making things once again less or unaffordable. Yes, and then we've got the yield curve control issue. What is that all about? Well, countries, because the United States of America, under Biden, decided to freeze Russia's U.S. bond assets, kick them out of the SWIFT system, which is a payment system. Countries pay each other through the SWIFT system. Well, Russia was blacklisted, so nobody could pay them, even though they have workarounds. The rest of the world has decided the U.S. dollar is being inflated away. It isn't as trustworthy and strong. Plus, the government could just freeze your assets and fuck you over like they did Russia, so why trust them? So they're not buying U.S. bonds, right? Treasury bonds, treasury bills, T-bills, T-bonds. They're not buying them. Well, who is going to buy them then? What happens is, when interest or desire to buy U.S. bonds from other countries and banks goes down, they start increasing the interest rate to get people to buy them. Well, those rates go up. It gets more expensive for the U.S. government to borrow money from other countries or central banks, and it gets too expensive. We can't afford that. So what do? They do this thing called yield curve control. They say, well, interest rates are at, say, 4%. And we're not going to raise that no matter who doesn't buy. Well, someone has to buy those bonds, because bonds is what funds the government. Our taxes pay back those bonds, but it is the bond purchases by central banks, other countries, and of course, investment firms. Buying those bonds does what, right? Funds the government. If no one's buying them, the government, through the Federal Reserve, will buy their own bonds. Japan has done that, folks. The Bank of Japan owns 80% of government debt in Japan. Right? This is called yield curve control. It's going to cause massive inflation, folks. Massive inflation is coming. We're going to revisit the 1970s while the government figures out how they're going to fund themselves. Now, years ago, I did a video with Crispy Bacon, friend of the channel, talking about $1 million gold. $1 million gold. The reason was, how do we fix the problem? I was like, fuck, we figured it out. We can fix the problem. They don't want to fix problems. I can't remember who's credited with saying this, but they said it. Government will do everything they can to avoid doing the right thing until they've tried everything else and there's nothing left but to do the right thing. We're getting closer and closer to that point where the government has to do the right thing and fix the problem. They've stated one of the ways to do that, and that is to monetize the assets of the United States. And they've let out that while doing a gold-backed bond system, meaning they can revalue gold because they want to revalue it and create enough wealth that the U.S. government holds and then issue bonds against that so the government can operate, well, for a time. Let's just use the word free. Now, that would work great at a time when governments are doing what they should be doing. But if you tell the government you can operate for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, no consequence, no bills to pay. You think they're going to actually pay down the debt with our taxes? Or do you think they'll just go into debt even faster? Right? Well, the government gets a bunch of money and they will fiscally blow that quicker than a drunk sailor in port. I'm telling you, but this is where we're heading. We're heading into an economic, monetary disaster. The 1970s, folks, the U.S. government was having to pay its gold out for its, it was doing too much money printing. And France and other nations caught on, and they closed the gold window, switched over to the petrodollar, told OPEC, go ahead and simulate a crisis, hold back oil so you can raise prices with shortages. The country was crippled, pissed off. In fact, the whole world was pissed off. Fights, people getting killed at gas stations over fuel. Oh, yeah. It was SHTF back then for a little while. But what they did is they raised up the price of oil high enough to where the Saudis and the entire Middle East, OPEC, the oil-producing exporting countries, OPEC, they were able to, get really rich. And then, in turn, guess what they did? They had to pay the U.S. government a kickback on that oil price. Guess what else they did? OPEC countries, the oil-producing, exporting countries, OPEC, said, we will not accept anything except U.S. dollars or bonds in exchange for oil. And that way the U.S. dollar was protected because the whole world needs oil. The U.S. dollar maintained its world reserve status under the petrodollar instead of the gold-backed dollar. Well, the world is not happy with the dollar, and the world is not happy with the U.S., and countries are doing what they want now, and they're accepting other currencies or metals or commodities. We've got a shitstorm right out in front of us, folks. Now, if you watch the news, and it says, next week we've got a snowstorm coming or a hurricane, what do people do? Well, smart people will go to the store and buy what they need. Food, water, make sure that their home is safe, make sure their clothing is proper, right? Make sure they're protected, in other words, prepping. Now, if an earthquake hits, say, in Japan, they tell the entire West Coast, hey, we've got a tsunami coming. It's going to be a day away. A day. There's a tsunami coming. You better get prepared. Now you got less than a week. Instead of a week to prepare, you've got no time. We're going to go along as a country, as a world, in fact. Everyone pretending everything is fine until it's not. In 1933, the President of the United States, FDR, did what? Closed down the banks, said people need to turn in their gold. We'll give you, it's worth $20, but we'll give you like $20.50. A little premium, right? A little profit for you. Turn in your gold. And then what did they do? They revalued the gold. Right? So the government can do things like revalue gold. Nixon revalued gold 2 more times, by the way. It's sitting on the books not at $33, but at, I think, $42.22 or some such number. Ridiculous, right? Gold is valued right now just under $3,500. $3,500, not $35. In any event, right, the world has gone through a lot of turmoil. As I described, the 70s, tons of inflation in the 70s. Life was hard, difficult, really difficult. We haven't even got to the point where they have created all of this turmoil that I've been describing, and people are already maxed out on their credit cards. They have home loans, personal loans, car loans. They're having trouble paying for that. Like countries, individuals are now relying on credit not to pay their bills, but just to get food to eat. It's going to get much tighter, and the world is going to be a very difficult place. Anyways, enough on that. That was just kind of a little update. What do you want to talk about? This is Sunday Night Live. It's your show. Absolutely your show. And by the way, everything I say is not financial advice. It's not investment advice. But if you think you need to preserve your wealth, I am a big fan of silver and gold. That right there is a 1 ounce Marine Corps silver round. Preserve your wealth, folks. If a bank closes, that one's still mine. If they devalue your dollar by 10%, 20%, 50%, that's still 1 ounce. If you don't own it, you don't hold it, you don't own it. Same with your self-defense. Don't wait until you need it before you get it. All right, there is a nice thing. Thank you, Jolene Silver Stacker. Right? If you want to check out gold and silver, check out that website right there. Go ahead and just hit pause. Write that down so you're good. Right? You can always hit play again because I'm going to be here till, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go 2 hours every Sunday night, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little longer. We're up to 325 people live right now. I want to hit 400. Share the internet address, hit the share button. Let's do it. Let's see what you guys want to talk about next. Thank you, Jolene. And it's Mark Ho. And he says, thumbs number 1. John, you think 31 Atlas is something out of this world or maybe a real good dosage of bullshit distraction, government bullshit? Thoughts, concerns? I think it's bullshit. Have good. I think it's bullshit. Have good. Do we have more to that or is that it, Mr. Uman? All right. Well, here's my thought on 31 Atlas or 3L Atlas, right? What that is that is a it's an object in outer space. So it's this giant object in outer space that is not like anything else they've ever seen. We've had 2 other, and now this is the third, large objects, distant objects that have come into our solar system that have caused, scientists and astrophysicists and NASA to make strange claims. Well, now a Harvard astrophysicist is weighing in. You're asking what I think. Is it real or bullshit? Is it something to be concerned about or is it just a distraction? Well, a Harvard astrophysicist is speculating that it could be an alien spacecraft powered by nuclear power, right? Well, the reason they say that is it has an odd energy signature. As an interstellar object, it doesn't act like an asteroid or a comet, right? So the astrophysicist that's talking about this is named Avi Loeb. Yes, Avi, folks, A-V-I, as in an Israeli name, Avi. So Avi Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist, has been analyzing images and data and says that, instead of the rear of the comet having a tail lit up, right, it has a glow at the front of it. Strange, very strange. Instead of the typical trailing tail, right? A comet gets melted by solar radiation when it comes to a certain point, and the solar winds blow the melting ice and particles off, and that gives it its illuminated glow. Comets, they look like a broom without the handle, but in this case, it's the front of it's glowing. Very strange. You want my thoughts? I'll tell you what. I think it's more likely to be Satan coming back to join the Revelations, Armageddon, and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, rather than a bunch of aliens. I say get your preps in order at the preparedmind.club, just in case my joke becomes your reality. I think it is a distraction. I think it's a lie. I think it's bullshit. I think all of that. I am concerned about what government does. I don't know why a strange looking rock would be a spaceship. I mean, there's people that claim the moon is the spaceship. There's people that claim the moons around Mars, Phobos and Deimos. Fear and terror is the translation of Phobos and Deimos. They say those are alien spaceships. And the last one, Uroburo Nami Nami, whatever the fuck it was called, that interstellar object did things that no other object has ever done that they've, well, been willing to talk to us about. But why wouldn't aliens, if they're capable of interstellar space travel, traveling across the galaxy or even galaxy to galaxy, why wouldn't they have a real spaceship instead of a flying fucking rock? I mean, what's the point of traveling in a hollowed out rock? Right? If it's doing something other rocks don't do in space, that's kind of a dead giveaway. It's not like they're fooling anyone. Anyways, Marco, it's something we're going to have to continue to watch. They're saying, though, that the object is in no danger to our world. It's going to miss Earth by a long shot. Nothing to worry about. I'm more worried about government and what it does because it affects me on a daily basis. It affects all of us on a daily basis. A flying rock in space that isn't going to come near us, no worries. Aliens, they can do a better job than flying a rock. All right, let's have some fun. It is time for some super chats. What do you guys want to talk about here on the board? And we got Viking checking in. Okay, Boomer. That's a $20 super chat donation. And he says this: in Western Europe, they love to say that mass migration is payback time for being colonizers. Meanwhile, in North America, they love to say it's payback time due to slavery. They have an excuse for everything. Well, let's have some fun with this one. And Boomer, I appreciate the, Viking, I appreciate the ever present and existing support and great topics. In Western Europe, it's a payback for being colonizers. Okay. I have talked to Native Americans, Tribal Business Council, TBC. That's like a board of directors. I've talked to them. And one of them was, well, he was confident enough and shared with me, said, hey, we're Native Americans. He even called themselves a very derogatory Indian or Native American name. He called them Injuns. He says, boy, a lot of us are stupid Injuns, but I know better. He says, I would rather be living the way we live in the system we live in than no people here and us living in teepees and freezing our asses off, right? And eating that, made fun of their acorn mash. But same with, I've heard other minorities say, look, I'd rather live the way we do than being a bushman in Africa. Or, every country, if it was honest, is better off with the technology that's been provided by the colonizers. Now, I'm not saying bad things didn't happen. I'm not saying massive crimes, genocide, just awful things have happened. Of course it has. Of course it has. But let's just start with the colonizers, right, in Western Europe. So who were the colonizers? England, France, Spain, Portugal, even Italy, even the Dutch. Right? It's payback, right? It's payback time. Well, where did those people go colonize? Well, they colonized in Africa, down in, Central and Southern Africa, and the Americas, North America, Central America, South America, also the Far East and the Middle East. But what is the payback, right? Why is payback a good thing? Two wrongs make a right? No, okay, fine. If that's the way it goes, two wrongs make a right, then every one of these immigrants that commits a crime, perhaps they should get paid back twice as well also. Now, in North America, it's due to slavery. Well, slavery, folks, was not just North America. even though the Democrats and the losers out there saying, yeah, it's payback time. Well, the people that are coming here to give us payback are not Africans. Not all of them. Some are, but a lot of them are Central and South American gangs. Some are North Africans, and these are not blacks. These are Arabs and Muslims, as well as Far Eastern, Pakistan's, Afghanis, and then also Asians, Southeast Asians. They're coming here. And so what's their excuse for the bad behavior and the criminal behavior? Right? There's no payback. In fact, the black slaves who were sold to the white slave trade route, it wasn't the white slave trade route, folks. You find out when you read into the history, a lot of people are now saying, hey, wait a minute, the people who were pushing that were European Jews. Whoops. Is that true or not? How could I know? I wasn't alive 400 years ago. Who wrote the history books? Who wrote the real history books? Not me, not us. So we have to take a look at everything and say, who is winning? Key bono, who benefits from all this? Who benefits? Who wants to see America destroyed? Who wants to see Europe destroyed? Who has an axe to grind with every race on the planet? Who has an axe to grind with every religion on the planet? Right? You start asking the questions, you start figuring it out. I don't accept payback. I don't accept it. So I tell you what, Mr. Viking, we're going to have a shitstorm on our hands at some point, one point or another. Now, with respect to Black Americans and slavery, a lot of blacks are coming around to the, I want my freedom, my rights, I want safety. Right? Police should be arresting criminals and getting them off the streets. That's become a very popular notion amongst a growing number of Black Americans. Over in Europe, I guess their dealing with slavery was treated quite a bit differently domestically. They don't seem to have this demand for reparations or other nonsense. But America has been trying to, well, distribute its ridiculous racist notions around the world that, reparations need to be made. I don't buy it. I'm not responsible for what was done in the past. All right, but we're going to find out, folks. Fuck around, find out. Shit is going to hit the fan. Even worse, it is coming. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and your plan. Have it together, because they're not going to give us warning. They're not going to say, look, 3 months from now, shit's going to get nasty. 2 months, a month. 2 weeks, they're not going to go, okay, look, in 2 weeks, we're going to cut loose. We're going to have a giant civil war. Just want to give everyone notice. They're not going to do that. It's just going to happen. Just like St. George Floyd, a felon who was committing a felony, who was jacked up on fentanyl, a felony, was passing counterfeit money, a felony, was arrested while dying of a drug overdose. And they used that excuse to burn $5 billion worth of American businesses and homes and public property. Almost $5 billion. Burn, loot, and murder. BLM. We went from everything's fine to what the fuck just happened in one day. It started and it got worse. Get prepared, folks. Viking, thank you, sir. Who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We're 1 hour in. We got 1 hour to go. As long as we've got questions, comments, thoughts, I'll stay here in this chair with you guys digging it. Who's up next? We've got RM125 Hooligan with a $4.99 super chat donation. And he says, silver is now up to $39.10. So glad I bought most of mine at 16 to 18 an ounce. And I am still buying. How high do you see it going, John? Okay, folks. I am not a financial guy, even though I manage a family office and their investments. A large part of our, and I'm going to say our because I'm involved in managing it for the benefit of family members, a large portion of it is in silver, right? Unfortunately, I don't get to just go out and spend it all. But yeah, silver's up to $39.10. The two all-time highs with silver are $50. One in 1981 and then again in 2011. In both times, in both cases, an outside influence came in to knock the price down. The Hunt brothers were trying to corner their market in 1981. And they drove the price up. They changed the rules on the COMEX so that they couldn't corner the market, and they screwed the Hunt brothers, who were essentially at that time billionaires relative to the rest of the world, right? Warren Buffett tried doing the same thing in the 90s. He bought a lot of silver. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, and he kind of got railroaded and got out of it. But then again, 2011, gold and silver went up. Gold hit just under $2,000. Silver hit $50 briefly and then fell back down again because the United States government came in and printed a bunch of money. And they claimed to have fixed all the problems. Well, now they're running out of silver. Literally running out of silver. We're on the 5th year of a supply deficit problem, meaning the world is consuming more silver than they're producing. Now, we're leaving gold off the discussion board for now. It is my opinion that silver is going to go far beyond what anyone can imagine. The question is, how soon? How fast does it rise? What's the ceiling? Will it flatten off and plateau? Will the price be set by a government or an organization? Will it peak and then drop? If it does peak and drop, how far will it drop before it levels off? So let's just say back in 2005, silver was about $5 an ounce. It went up to 50. That is a 1,000% increase. It dropped back down to about $15 on its low, right, in 2015, 2016. So it still had a net gain of 300%. And it gained that 300% over about a 2-year period, 2009 to 2011. These are all approximate numbers. Please don't hold me to them too tightly. But RM125 Hooligan bought in at essentially the low, which is brilliant. It's brilliant. So I'm going to continue to use your numbers and the historical precedent to discuss this. Let's just say you bought at 15 at the low. The overall win from 2005 to 2015 was a 300% gain, meaning if you bought at $15 an ounce, 300% would be $45. Right now, we're just under $40. But again, back then, silver went from $5 up to $50 and then back down. Right? The low this time was 15. If it goes to 10 times, that's $150 an ounce. And then it could drop back to, well, say 50, which would be for you a 300% gain. But for a while, it'll be 1,000% gain. Now, there's a big difference, though, between now in 2025 and 2011 and 1981. Here's the difference. Again, that silver production deficit. Silver is largely a byproduct of copper mining, zinc mining, and gold mining. About 70 or 75% of silver comes as a byproduct. In other words, they're processing for other minerals and metals, and out comes the silver, and they set it aside, and yay. There are some strictly silver mines out there, like First Majestic, and other mining companies have both silver and gold mines, like Coeur Mining or Luca Mining. But it is a way to protect your wealth, to save safely. And at certain times in history, it'll act like an investment, like it did in 1980 to 81, and then again in 2009 to 2011. But they are producing and using silver. See, gold is mined, processed, refined, and then purchased by banks and held as a reserve asset. And it's held by governments as a reserve asset because gold is money. Silver is also money. Silver dollars used to be made out of silver. They don't even use coins anymore, but so were half dollars, quarters, and dimes. Okay. Silver is money, but it's also an industrial metal. It's a strategic defense metal. Okay, so every solar panel you see has silver in it, and they're continuing to increase production on silver solar panels. There is no substitute for the silver. Silver is used in military weaponry because there is no substitute for silver in electronics and what weapons need to do. Weapons, I'm talking about tomahawks, missiles, right? You got to have it. You got to have a shit pile of silver for nuclear reactors. Thousands of pounds of silver in a nuclear reactor because it has unique properties that no other metal has. Gold can be used as a substitute in some cases, but it's much more expensive, about 90 times more expensive. So silver is the most economic use, right? And now Samsung has a electric vehicle battery that is solid state, uses silver. There's not enough silver to go around. There's not enough silver for all of its uses in computers, electronics, solar panels, weapons, reactors. What else does silver get used for? Of course, jewelry, silverware. It's used as an investment, right? So there's all these uses and desire for silver. And like I said, they're producing about 750 million ounces a year, but they're consuming over 1 billion ounces a year and have done so for the last 5 years. Silver, I think last year, Vladimir Putin, Russia said, Russia, the government, and our banking system is now going to buy silver and hold it as a reserve asset. On Friday, it was released that Saudi Arabia, the bank of, is not going to buy just gold, but it is now also going to buy silver. China, the country of China, which produces all of these solar panels, which produces its own EVs and all the EV skateboards and toys and bikes and scooters and shit, right? Batteries, electronics. We're going to find out how far this goes. But China is over in Mexico, Central America, South America, talking to the silver producing companies, whether they produce just silver or produce gold and silver. And they're buying up all of the silver they can before it even goes to COMEX or the LBMA or the Shanghai Exchange. In other words, corporations, banks, countries are pulling silver off the market. So where they trade silver on the COMEX and gold and many other things, meaning commodities exchange, COMEX, they're running out of silver. They're running out of silver. This could end up going up 1,000% from that $15 to $150. But will it go back down? Will it stop? That's the question. Will it stop and level out, stop and go down? Or will it keep going and blow everyone out of the water? $200, $400, $1,000 silver? I'm not making that prediction. I'm saying it is possible. Is it probable? It is more probable now than it was in 2011 because they can't just print the paper because people that are buying the contracts, the silver futures contracts, they're demanding delivery because they need it for industrial purposes, for military purposes, for energy purposes. There's your nuclear energy in your batteries again, as well as being used in medical devices and medical equipment for medical purposes. Silver is the most important metal on the planet. It is. It's the most important metal on the planet. Because without it, everything else fails. Computers, phones, satellites, nuclear power, everything. We're done. And you can't substitute copper for it. The copper can't do it. But if they revalue gold, and we're going to revisit that, right? And they revalue gold from its 3,500. Let's just say they go to a nice round number, $10,000 an ounce. Well, silver is being pulled out of the ground. 1 ounce of gold, 7 ounces of silver, 1 to 7. Shouldn't silver be priced at 1 to 7? Well, if gold was 10,000 an ounce, or if gold becomes 10,000 an ounce, that means silver is going to be about $1,500 an ounce. I don't think it's going to get there, folks. But who knows? How big is this struggle between the United States, the European Union, Russia, China, all the emerging markets in the world, their demand and desire to hold silver, gold. Like, there's a struggle right now, a race to control commodities, iron, zinc, copper, cobalt, nickel. Got to have nickel, by the way, for stainless steel and other purposes, right? All of these things, right? Uranium is a big deal. We're going to have trouble. We're going to have massive inflation because they fucked up the monetary system. There's going to be a desire and a demand and a scramble, a mad scramble, perhaps even world war, fighting over assets. Being prepared up here so you can be prepared with all the items you need in case shit goes wonky on the street. Me and you won't be discussing Washington, D.C. or the Bank of International Settlements. We'll be trying to figure out how to survive day to day. Get prepared, folks. We have some very unusual times. In fact, I think it's a Chinese curse to say, may you live in interesting times. Well, folks, we live in interesting times. Owning silver. If I was going to make a recommendation, let me just tell you what I did. To buy silver, the smallest denomination you can get is a dime. You can buy pre-1964 U.S. currency. Pre-1964 dimes are 90% silver, 10% copper, I believe. Dimes. All money used to be made out of silver, except for the nickel, and, of course, the copper penny. If you need to buy a pound of meat, a loaf of bread, or many loaves of bread and some meat and this, that, how are you going to pay if the 1 ounce of silver you have is worth, say, $200? That's a hell of a shopping trip. What if you just, like I said, need a couple items? Well, if silver is $40 an ounce, a dime or a tenth of an ounce of silver is $4, right? It's $4. You can use constitutional silver dimes to buy things. And it's being recommended now by many experts to find out if you've got country store, mom and pop store, educate them on silver and what it's worth. And tell them that if things go wonky, no credit cards, no electricity, this or that, money's bad, inflation's off the hook, that you would like to use silver to pay for your goods. I know it's a long subject, and this is kind of what this what this show is turning into, is very detailed topics. It's important. Again, the investments my family has made is long-term protection, SHTF, investment quality thinking. And it's not designed to make anyone rich. It's designed to protect everyone's assets. But yes, I could see silver going to $100 easy in the next 6 months even. I don't know, because until the powers that be, and a lot of people would agree with this, until they are ready for something to happen, it's not going to happen. They'll lie, cheat, steal, and fool us until they are ready. And I think that's what they're doing by holding the silver price down where it's at. Right? Gold has taken off and they've tried controlling it, but they're going to lose control. They're losing control. And the lowering of interest rates by the Federal Reserve and the money printing, gold and silver are going to skyrocket. Not investment advice, just word to the wise. Do your own research Do your own thinking, make decisions based on what you need. Most people don't have the money to pay their bills, much less buy silver. It's trouble, folks. Anyways, RM125 Hooligan, you done well buying at 16 to 18 an ounce. You've done very well. I hope that's after the premium. In any event, let's continue if we shall. We got more super chats out there. What do you guys want to talk about? Who's up next? And we've got Carlos Granados from Mexico with 223. That's 223 pesos. He says, in cartoon terms, POTUS, President of the United States, is Yosemite Sam behavior. The BB lobby is Bugs Bunny, always outfoxing him. Trump POTUS was elected to oversee the Chapter 11 of the United States. It's not 31, Carlos. It's $37 trillion in debt. Shit hits the fan when creditors come to collect, in my opinion. We got quite a fucking handful of interesting thoughts here. Thank you, Carlos, and I enjoy always your incorporation of humor into your comments. So Yosemite Sam, a Merry Melodies, Warner Brothers cartoon character. Yosemite Sam was loud, brash, right? Always threatening, always just doing crazy shit. Yeah, Trump can kind of be viewed that way. And Bugs Bunny is always just one step ahead, a little bit smarter, a little bit clever, right? Of course, Bugs Bunny, and being the prime Warner Brothers cartoon character, I think he's probably the greatest cartoon character ever created. Bugs Bunny, fucking brilliant. Anyways, it seems like Bibi, that was a great way to put it. The Israeli lobby, AIPAC, seems to always be outfoxing, outsmarting, and outmaneuvering American politicians. Right? So Yosemite Sam was elected. This is the theory or the the concept put up by Carlos Granados here. He was elected to oversee the Chapter 11, which means bankruptcy. The bankruptcy of the United States. We're $37 trillion in debt. Now, who are the creditors? Meaning, who loaned money to the United States to the amount of $37 trillion? Well, that would be the Federal Reserve Bank. But who owns the Federal Reserve Bank? European banks own the Federal Reserve Bank. So a bunch of banks own our bank, which loans us money. They don't do anything. They don't create gold or silver. They don't even print money on paper so much anymore. They just electronically print money. Doesn't cost them a fucking thing. It's fresh air, but they're charging us interest. I just got a letter over the weekend. My credit card that I have is going from, 11% interest to 17% interest. I haven't missed a payment. I have to pay 17% to borrow money that they create out of fresh air if I want to use my credit card. Anyways, Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The country's bankrupt. Well, are we insolvent? Not yet. Solvent meaning, do we have cash? Yeah, we have cash. But Trump is going to oversee the Chapter 11. In other words, the money system, as I've been describing and discussing, and many others as well, is failing. It's going to outright fail altogether. So it's not a typical Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceeding with a courthouse and court. No, it's just they're going to revamp and recreate it. And Trump is overseeing that. He was put in position to deal with this. I agree, yes. How is he going to do it? Well, Trump likes gold. Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, likes gold. Other members like gold in the government. And the world is going back to a gold-backed standard. Not a gold standard, but a gold-backed standard. Meaning people are going to say you have this much credit based on the amount of gold you have. And people can get paid back in gold if they want. So it's not going to be a gold system, a gold standard, but rather a gold-backed standard. Meaning you can't go into debt unless you have the raw materials, the assets, right, to cover your expenses. No more just going in debt with fiat money. That's why countries in Africa, South America, Central America, that have a lot of raw materials. By that, I mean commodities that are valuable: cobalt, nickel, right? Zinc, copper, gold, silver, of course. Iron, it's not super expensive, but it's still a commodity. Aluminum, once again, it's a commodity. All of these metals are worth something. And countries, right, in order to avoid bankruptcy, are going to have to put up and shut up, right? And it's going to be interesting, folks. It's going to be a mess. I really appreciate you checking in, Carlos. And yes, Yosemite Sam is going to get, right, he's going to get controlled. He is controlled, right? He's going to get outfoxed and outsmarted. The question is does the United States of America have enough moxie and enough of its own assets to take care of itself as we go through this transition, right? We went from a silver standard to a gold standard after Bretton Woods. Then we went to an oil standard, and now we're going to go back to a commodity-based or basket of commodities currency system. It's going to be interesting. The news won't talk about it, folks. Mainstream news, nope. They want you to be quiet, be ignorant, be scared. But if you do your research, look around, listen, you're going to discover quite a shitstorm is just a little ways away. And it's not just about Muslim invaders. It's not just about our countries being destroyed by our own governments. It is an everything SHTF. Let us continue, if we shall. Jolene Uman, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got Big Dan the Man back again with another $10 super chat, and he says Trump should pardon Hillary Clinton after her arrest and her plea deal. She has already said, if I'm arrested, I'll take down half of Washington, D.C. Right? That's what she said. And so Dan says, sounds like a Trump 3D chess game to me. Well, thank you, Jolene. I got to tell you, why would Trump pardon Hillary Clinton? Right? She said if she's arrested, she'll take down half of D.C. I've got no problem with that. I think that's a great plan. Arrest her and see who she shits all over and rolls over on, names that she names. Right? We are playing a game. Whether you want to call it checkers or chess or 3D chess or 50D chess, right? 10D chess. Whatever, it's just how good are the players. You can play a game and not be any good at it and get your ass kicked. Democrats are doing that right now. They're getting their asses kicked politically because they're doing everything they can to piss off the real Americans, and they're relying on their system of cheating to stay in power. They're relying on the mainstream media to lie for them to help keep them in power. And they're relying on AIPAC and other lobby organizations like Act Blue to get them money to stay in the race and keep this game going, to keep us confused. Trump, if he's playing some kind of chess game, he can play it. Hell, I can play chess. I don't have a world rating. My brother has a world rating in chess. But just because you can play chess doesn't mean you're going to win. I hope that Trump is better at it than our adversaries. I hope, but it is a very complicated game, right? So checkers is jumping, and then you can get kinged, and then checkers, right? Chess has got a lot of different pieces, a lot of different power on each piece, different skills and ability of each piece. And then 3D chess is having all these layers of boards where one piece above can affect another, right? It's a lot of descriptive analysis for a very complex game because it's a military game. It's an energy game, right? It's a monetary game. It's an assets game. It is a religious game, right? We have every facet of life is now absolutely wrapped into this game of chess, right? I hope that Trump arrests Hillary. I don't think he's going to. Because if she's going to bring down half of Washington, D.C., a lot of those are going to be people who don't want to be brought down, who are very powerful, very wealthy, very connected, and they're supposed to be protected. They're supposed to be protected, meaning Well, if I'm going to sell out my country as a politician, whoever is bribing me and controlling me also has to protect me, right? Kind of like a prostitute on the street. She's supposed to go out and screw people for money, but she has to give that money back to her pimp, and the pimp gives her a little bit to take care of herself. But if anyone messes with that hooker, the pimp will come down on him, right? Shoot him. He'll bust a cap in his ass. All that crap, right? So if Hillary thinks she's going to roll over on everyone, that to me is a hollow threat. Trump going to arrest Hillary? I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it does. I hope she rolls over and squeals like a stuck pig. But if he says, hey, look, I'm arresting you. I'm going to give you a plea deal, Hillary, but you're going to name all the names. I think they have all the names. I think they know they have the Epstein list. They know what's going on. It really comes down to, is Trump going to make arrests of the corrupt federal officials, both elected people, appointed people? Right? Hillary was a senator and an appointed Secretary of State. She's done both. She is crooked as fuck. The Clinton Foundation is being discussed once again as an absolutely awful, corrupt organization that just basically steals money. Right? Could they be brought down for that? She says, and her scorched earth is everyone will burn if she burns. But there's so many other players. Obama, the Pelosi's, the Schumers, the dollar store Hakeem Obama, that guy. Right? We've got all of the bankers. You've got JP Morgan, you got Goldman Sachs, you got Bank of America, you got Wells Fargo. You got Citi, right? You've got all of these banks. They're crooked and dirty as fuck. Investment firms like BlackRock and Vanguard, right? They're all tied up in this too. It is a big club, and we are not in it. I think Trump is a front man playing a game. Is he playing chess for us? Is he going to double cross his backers? I sure hope so, but I'm not betting any money on that. If I had a nickel or a dollar to bet, I would bet on silver. Ooman says, Magic 8 Ball says, not looking good. I tell you what, I mean, Dan, look, we've got to have something to shoot for and hope for at the same time, right? We hope for the best, plan for the worst. Trump is a smart guy. We just don't know for sure. The fact that he will not or has not released the Epstein list, in fact, attacked us as loyal supporters, it's very, very, very upsetting to all of us. Right? To call something that he called for, his son called for, J.D. Vance called for, everyone's called for, Kash Patel called for, Dan Bongino called for, and now it's just a hoax and we're just going to let it go. All the girls that were victimized, raped, we're just going to forget about that. The continuing crimes being committed, we're just going to forget about that. This is why we're just saying, just give us any arrests. Anyways, we're at 350 people live, folks. We're 90 minutes into the show. We got another half hour to go. Who's up next? Who hit the super chat button? Who wants to talk? And it is Jay Maskinis checking in with a super sticker. What's up there, Big John? He says, hey, in my browser, the super sticker window never accepts text. How about just briefly address the whole scenario of having the authorities show up, impound or break down a door, or perhaps contrast the current protocols and policies allowing carte blanche when someone says a neighbor is doing whatever, all the way up to hoax scenarios like the two this week regarding SWAT, basically allowing anyone with a trouble phone to make some noise with their flapping lips and tongues, and gave a virtual cavalry deployed, dispatch, etc., under the guise of safety. What he's talking about are red flag laws, okay? Red flag laws, and then also being swatted. Let's go back to the first part of that, if we can. It was a big three-parter from Mr. Maskinis, right? Briefly address the whole scenario of having the authorities show up and pound or break down a door. The authorities, under a variety of different scenarios, can now just show up at your house and kick down the door. The most popular one is a political revenge or a political payback that people do. It's called swatting. So someone uses a burner phone, a throwaway phone, a track phone, a disposable phone that can't be tracked to them. They'll call the police and they'll say, "Hey, police, at 12345 Pine Street, Springfield, a man is threatening his wife. I can hear screaming and yelling. In fact, I may have heard a gunshot. It's hard to say if it was a door slam or a muffled gunshot. I think someone's in trouble," right? And they hang up the phone. The police show up in SWAT gear, special weapons and tactics, or the CERT teams, right? Whatever you want to call them, they show up, helmet, goggles, bulletproof vests, fully automatic machine guns, and they go and they can kick down a door if they need to because somebody wants to cause trouble. These scenarios are happening right now. They continue to happen. Folks, they've swatted Marge Taylor Greene, a congresswoman, multiple times. They've swatted other Congress members. They've swatted politicians. They've swatted private citizens, right? If certain Israelis don't like you or me or anyone else, they can swat us. The other thing is red flag law, right? I think this person, he's crazy, and so therefore he shouldn't have weapons. And the police show up, and then they're going to take your weapons and make you prove that you're not crazy. I've never committed a crime that I've been arrested for and gone to jail and served time. No, right? I haven't done domestic violence. I haven't threatened anyone. I'm not a person of interest in any crimes, right? But someone could try and make that happen by swatting you, by red flag, using red flag laws to hurt someone. This is becoming epidemic. It's been a problem for a while. If we can, let's just go to the second one, Mr. Uman or Jolene, if we can, right? They can make any accusation, and there's no consequence for them. There's no consequence for them, right? And that's where the problem is there's no consequence for these false reports. There's no consequences. The police can show up and kick down your door at any time. These no-knock raids on wrong doors, right? Imagine if you're a law-abiding citizen who lives in a pretty rough neighborhood, someone kicks in your door, you're going to jump up out of bed, grab your pistol, and start shooting. Meanwhile, you got people rushing through the door looking like a home invasion, screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs for you to do what they say, and they just shoot you dead. Not a good scenario, right? Not good for anyone, but that's what's happening, right? And they haven't gotten rid of it. It's very much a Stasi or a Soviet-style attitude towards private citizens that the government has. They're taking a more socialist or communist approach, that the government can do no wrong, the government is sovereign, and the people are subject to them. Except in America, the people are sovereign. The government is servants. In America, we have a First and a Second Amendment right. Someone making a complaint is not evidence of a crime, right? Evidence is supposed to be used and or acquired and then used to get a warrant to go and search or arrest. It's supposed to require evidence. Now all it takes is an anonymous phone call from a politicized fruitcake or asshole. Very scary scenario, and it's continuing to happen. It needs to be a federal crime. It needs to be a serious felony. There needs to be serious jail time. We're not there yet, folks. Like I said, we've got a long way to go before we come out the other side of this and start healing as a nation and a people. Who knows what it's going to take to get there? Is it going to take World War III? Is it going to take nuclear weapons? Or is it going to take a breakdown in societies around the world, a breakdown in the monetary systems, and just basically a fucking Mad Max scenario for the next 10, 20 years before people come back, before the bad people are extinguished, before the good people take charge? No idea. I just do the best I can day to day. Uman, Jolene, what do we want to discuss next? We've got Tom Bragoloni. He says, we need to start over. End of story. Yeah, the voting system has failed us, has it not? I voted for, Bush, and then I voted for Dole. Then I voted for Bush, and then Bush, and then I voted for McCain. What? And then Mitt Romney, right? Even Trump, and then with Trump, and nothing gets better. Nothing gets fixed. Nothing gets resolved. We're more in debt. We're more threatened. We have bigger government. The only thing that's gone right in America the last 20 years is pretty important. And before I bring up the topic, I want to remind everyone we've got 20 minutes left. Super chat button right up there. Get your comments on the screen. I want to know what you're thinking about. I would rather listen to what you're thinking about, like Mr. Tom here, than my own stuff. But it's up to you guys. Up to you guys. Now, back to this. In the last 20 years, 25 years, even 30 years, the Supreme Court, federal courts, and states have all moved towards a heavier and heavier understanding, belief, and implementation of the Second Amendment. So much so that now they want to, well, have it where if you are, say you live in Florida or California or New York, anywhere you live, if you have a concealed weapons permit, right, that's a license to carry concealed, or just open carry everywhere. You have a right to protect yourself. That is being upheld more and more in this country every year to greater and greater extent. That's a good thing. We in America have the thing that no one else on the planet has, and it's written into our law, our Constitution. It is the Second Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Right? The militia, essential, right? Essential for a free country, a free republic, needs to be armed. Guns, not shotguns, not 22s, not BB guns, guns, whatever you want. Shotgun, rifle, automatic loading rifle. I think fully automatic weapons should be legal. Military now has high explosives. I don't know why we shouldn't have access to high explosives, grenades, rocket launchers. If we, the militia force, are supposed to repel a foreign government, shouldn't we have what is needed to repel a foreign government attacking our nation? Well, that was the concept back in 1776 and then again in 1789, right? But why isn't it true today? Because progressive government wants to take our rights because it gives them more authority and power. That's why, folks, they've got us down to the point where you have to get a permit to get a gun, just to buy one. You have to ask permission from the government. You have to pay a tax, right? It's pretty crazy, but it's swinging the other way nicely, and I feel confident that we'll be able to protect ourselves. Now, what else is going on? This one, thank you, Tom, very much. Get your super chats in. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. And now we've got this. We've got controversy in the NFL, the woke NFL, which won't give up on being woke and insulting their fan base, their support. Now the controversy is with, of course, not sitting on your helmet, not the black national anthem, but rather male cheerleaders who aren't there to like toss women in the air and catch them on their way down, right? And acting like men who were part of cheer. Now they're supposed to have erotic, sexy moves like the female cheerleaders. But the Vikings have two male cheerleaders, and they filmed themselves doing a dance with their female cheerleader counterparts in the bathroom. Woke is trying to stay in our faces, folks. Woke is trying to stay relevant. And woke is still trying to destroy our American culture, our morality, our laws, and our lives. Get prepared, folks. They're not giving up. They're not giving up. They really aren't. In fact, they're continuing to bully us, conservative Americans, America firsters. They're trying to bully us the same way AIPAC is trying to silence anyone criticizing Israel, which is a secular state. Israel is not a race. Israel is not a religion. Israel is the name of a country. Anyways, in Alachua, Florida, right, there has been a case of extreme discrimination and even violence against children in school, conservative children. For example, a male student was in his class. He was being bullied for his conservative values. He had an interest in history, in particular World War II. He participated in a paramilitary organization called ROTC, which is common and very American and very military. The teacher allowed his classmates to call him a, quote, Nazi sympathizer. The teacher organized a vote to award this kid an award, a certificate, that he was going to be the most likely to be a dictator. Well, they're bullying us. They're throwing shit in our face, are they not? Bullying us and our kids in schools. The government, through the former Attorney General, Merrick Garland, called us domestic terrorists, had the FBI land in black helicopters at school board meetings to scare parents, to scare Americans, right? Now, the good part about this happening in Florida, this bullying and attacking and belittling and besmirching of students for their beliefs in a free America, right? The Florida Attorney General, the guy's name is James Uthmeyer. He sent a letter to the school district and warned that if he hears that it's confirmed that a teacher is allowing bullying and participating in it, the teacher is going to be fired immediately and barred from teaching in the state. In fact, I think we need all public employees and elected employees. That's right. Politicians are elected employees to be held accountable for their actions, their lies, and their violations of individual as well as group rights. Tired of these fucking people. They're pushing us, folks. They're pushing. We're fighting back. I know. And it's having an effect. In fact, another positive effect is that in Texas, they've redistricted, they've gerrymandered and got rid of 2 people. First, we all heard, right, about Eyelash's Jasmine Ho Crockett, right? She's had her district redrawn, so she doesn't get to be the candidate anymore. She's not the incumbent. Also, Democrat Representative Al Green is now also fired. His response? That's racist. Calling someone racist or anti-Semite or bigot or Islamophobe or homophobe, even calling someone white supremacist or Nazi, doesn't have the effect anymore. Doesn't have the effect anymore because it's been used so many times, carelessly, pointlessly, and inaccurately that no one believes it anymore. But Al Green is the asshole, if you recall, who would not stop heckling Trump during the State of the Union address earlier this year. So he is joining Eyelash's Jasmine, not having a district anymore. They're both now going to be out of Congress in the next session, and now they live in Republican-drawn districts. So this is a big fat fuck you to all Democrats, but especially those 2. And hopefully it continues. It does. And folks, the Democrats hate this country. They really do. They hate it. And they're freaking out. They're freaking out. Yeah, we're in trouble, right? No matter what, we're in economic trouble, military trouble, international trouble. But the left is losing their control because their platform is destroy America, right? But now Trump is actually doing something for law and order, and this is great, right? He's cleaned up. There's been no murders, folks, for I think 7 days now. 7 days, no murders in Washington, D.C. So now he is threatening, Trump is, to send military personnel into Chicago, including possibly active duty, meaning Marines or Army. Now, BJ, the communist mayor, says violence will erupt if they do that. And my prediction, the National Guard will be praised, just like they were praised in Washington, D.C. People want to be safe from crime. People want to be safe from crime. And I guess, of course, yes, there is the threat that this could be abused. And of course, that's what the leftists are saying is, oh my God, this is Nazi takeover. Oh my gosh, this is Nazi takeover. Well, they're not attacking people. They're not arresting people unless they're criminals. They're not arresting people unless they're illegal immigrants here illegally or violating people's rights. There's some crazy business, folks. Shit hitting the fan is not a party. It's not. It really isn't. Let's do this. Let's do a super chat. Who do we got out there? Who's on the board? And it is Steve Demetrius with a $2 super chat donation. Thank you. He says, Cracker Barrel canceled the barrel and the cracker. Oh, yeah. The memes all over the internet are great. They're great. Right? These communists are hurting themselves. They really are. It's a crazy world. Let them do it. Let them woke goes broke every time. Every stinking time. I invite more companies to try it. Try it. Because America is soundly and roundly rejecting it, including investors. The investor class has dumped Cracker Barrel because, well, they want to be gay. They want to be LGBTQ pedo. Well, they're done. Now, thank you, Steve. We have a lot of people to stop. Now, these local fruitcakes, right, they can be stopped. How about the international fruitcakes? World War III is a big concern for me. Nuclear war is a big concern for me. The Trump administration has said, Ukraine, you cannot use your long-range missiles to strike into Russian territory. We provided those. You can't do it. Now, can they do that? Can they block Ukraine? Yeah, they can block them or stop them because without the United States, they cannot target and use those missiles because the Ukrainian military are idiots. And I don't mean to be insulting towards Ukraine people, but those aren't their weapons. They don't speak English. They don't know how to operate them properly. But I got a better idea, Mr. Trump. How about if you send American troops and supply lines over there to take back the long-range missiles? Bring them home. Bring them away from the homosexual madman of Kiev. Because what if Ukraine learns enough to learn how to use those weapons? Kind of like ridiculous goat-screwing mountain men from Afghanistan who want to marry 8-year-old girls. They managed to learn how to create improvised explosive devices, IEDs, which have blown up a lot of Marines and soldiers and airmen. Don't like that. They know how to operate rocket systems. Those are some serious retards, and they can do it. So I'm sure Ukraine will eventually figure it out. They need to be taken away. What was imprudently provided needs to be, well, expeditiously recalled. They don't deserve it. They're just, I'm not talking about the Ukraine people. I'm talking about the Ukraine regime, right? There's a lot of regimes out there that need to be called out for being what they are, evil, absolutely evil. Boy, I tell you, where do we go next, right? Where do we go next? In the Netherlands, folks, right? Asylum seeker brutally murdered a 17-year-old, right? These people are everywhere. They need to be stopped. They need to be removed. They need to be sent home, right? Now, this is a big one. Everyone remember who Seth Rich is? He was a Democrat. Well, why was he killed? Well, we don't know because they won't release the information. The Department of Justice under the Trump administration, not the Biden administration, not the Obama administration, not the Hillary Clinton administration. Seth Rich worked for Hillary, I believe, the Democrats. Why is the current DOJ stalling and stopping the release of the Seth Rich files? What I need to know is Pam Bondi and Kash Patel protecting national security interests by not telling us who assassinated Seth Rich? Or are they protecting big government, big shots and foreign nations like, you guessed it, Britain and Israel and the EU, right? It's been widely speculated now that Seth Rich was going to expose Epstein clients and the pedophile rings in this country, which are more than just this country. Is this sounding familiar? Yeah, once again, the Department of Justice hiding information, allowing criminals to go. And folks, look, I think the Democrats' approval numbers, they're now below 20%. Below 20%, meaning over half the Democrats in the country don't agree with them either. But there are absolutely moronic people out there voting and continuing to vote for our own destruction. In fact, a white, liberal Chicago woman has admitted to being carjacked and assaulted, had her arm broken, and she got mocked big time on social media, right, for being such a moron. She's deleted her account because she got trolled for being a literal retard and saying she doesn't mind. She would rather deal with the violence and the risks than have safety under Trump's National Guard removal of criminals and illegals. These people are that stupid, folks. They really are that stupid, and they're not going to go away. Sadly, they're not going to go away. And we've got just a few minutes left on this Sunday Night Live. I want to thank everyone for showing up and really just having a good time here, sharing your thoughts, supporting the channel. Everything you guys do, every one of your super chats keeps the lights on, keeps the scotch, tuna fish, Spam, and bags of beans and rice inside the pantry. We're going to need it at some point. We're going to need it at some point, I'm telling you. So let's do it. Who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got, drum roll, Blue Cord Devil checking in with a $50 super chat. And that's good because, well, $50 super chats do a Glenn Levitt 15-year single malt scotch. Always smelling good. And that's a great way to end the show, Mr. Blue Cord Devil. I want to thank you for your continuing great support of all of our efforts to expose all of the evil and help wake up America and the world. In fact, Boomer, if you're heading over to Britain, the world, please be careful. And you, Blue Cord Devil, here we are. Yes, sir. Cheers and Semper Fi, Blue Cord. He says, John, you look thirsty. And I was. He says, peace and prayers. John, Jolene, Uman, and everyone else, watch your six. Stay calm. Stay armed. And I'll add here, be fully prepared, folks. Fully prepared. Without that, we're just like everyone else. We're just as exposed, just as weak, just as in trouble, everything. You've got to be prepared. So thank you, Blue Cord Devil. Great words of wisdom. Stay calm, stay armed. And understand that if you are well-trained, if you are exercised, right, you'll be better off than everyone else. Let me tell you about the enemy just a little bit. The communist weakling piece of shit, Zoran Mandani, he filmed it. He had it filmed and put out there as a kind of a promotion piece, himself needing a spotter to bench press 135 pounds. 135 pounds. He stopped at a New York City campaign stop trying to impress everyone by bench pressing 135 pounds. Folks, he is half the man of any American. Now, look, even high schoolers in America routinely bench press over 200 pounds. My own son at age 19 was benching over 300 pounds. No steroids there either. Kind of gives you an idea of how underdeveloped and inferior these terrorists are, which is why I believe they attack most of the time young women. That's about the only people they can overpower. But they also are very dangerous. They carry knives, swords, and also semi-trucks. So understand, folks, You've got to be aware at all times, whether you're walking, driving, in your neighborhood, at your work, at the store. Be prepared at all times. Chance favors the prepared mind, and I say semper fi to one and all. Means always faithful. Always faithful to what you believe and know to be right. Your Constitution, the American dream, which is freedom, freedom, and more freedom. God bless.